Howdy, friendos. I'm Crazy Jason, and you've entered my wacky emporium. This is probably going to be the shortest weekly roundup that I ever do, and the reason for that is I have been without power since a storm Monday night. And my power just came back on today, so I wasn't able to watch as many movies as I would have liked to for the weekly roundup. Let me tell you something. There is no greater hell than being without power. I mean, don't you think that is just the worst? Cut off, you just feel like you're completely cut off from the world. Especially bad at nighttime, But anyway, I do have some cool titles for you, and I want to show you something really quick. Something that arrived in the mail today from Amazon, and that would be Taxi Driver. This beautiful, beautiful edition of Taxi Driver that was only $12.99 on Amazon. This is what it looks like on the inside. It's a trifold digipack, but it's very, very thick. And it comes with 12 art cards. They're reproduction lobby cards. Let's see if I can get these out of here. I'm not really going to show you in detail, but it does come with these lobby cards. And this will be making another appearance in this Monday's field trip. Added to which, the other Jason and myself have decided to do a special edition Blu-ray bullshit on Taxi Driver. We haven't done a Blu-ray bullshit in a very long time because he's been going to school and he's been working full-time at the same time, so we have only had just barely enough time to do the field trip videos, but we are going to make some time to do a special edition bullshit on Taxi Driver. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but he tells me that the PQ is outstanding, and on both Blu-ray.com and High Def Digest, the reviews are 5 stars across the board. So I'm very excited to get immersed in this movie. I'd highly recommend, even before seeing it, I'd highly recommend that you guys go ahead and bite the bullet. Order it from Amazon, or if you're lucky, get it from Walmart for $13. I have been to 4 different Walmarts in the past couple of days, just trying to kill time because I didn't have electricity. And all of the Walmarts were sold out of Taxi Driver. So I think this is going to be a very big seller. Really nice edition. Just wanted to give a little tease on that, let you guys know, and encourage you to go ahead and get one. But first up this week is this film noir double feature that I picked up at Big Lots for $6. It's got 2 movies on it, Act of Violence and Mystery Street. Now, I've only watched Act of Violence, and it's the one I was most interested in. Mystery Street, the other film on here, starring Ricardo Montalban, pre-Con era. It's more of a police procedural, and I'm not too keen on police procedurals. But Act of Violence stars Van Heflin, Robert Ryan, Janet Leigh, Erlay, Mary Astor, and Phyllis Thaxter. And it is a top-notch film noir. And if you're a fan of that genre, and you haven't seen this film, there's still, I've seen copies at several Big Lots. I would encourage you to go ahead and pick this up. Basically, the story is, it's post-World War II. And there's this man, he's kind of like an upstanding man in the community, has his own business, has a wife. And there's this other man who has this limp who's stalking him with the intent on killing him. And you start to, the mystery unfolds. You get sucked in really quick because you want to know why is Robert Ryan after Van Heflin to kill him, and he's so intent on killing him. And you discover that something happened while they were both at a World War II prison camp. And something so horrifically bad happened to make the Robert Ryan character vengeful to the point of, you know, his vengeance comes before his wife or his girlfriend. And I was really impressed with the complexity in the Van Heflin character. You know, a man wrestling, just classic noir things. You know, this man wrestling with you know, the preservation of his life versus his soul. You know, and it's very dark. The lighting is classic noir. The acting is great across the board. Lots of twists and turns. It has a few features on it. It has commentary by Dr. Drew Casper, and it has a featurette, Act of Violence Dealing with the Devil. And it's a very short featurette. It's like 5 minutes long. I believe it was produced by Turner Classic Movies. And this is probably one of those films that was released in conjunction with Turner Classic Movies. I highly recommend it. Can't go wrong with this. Next up, I have The Fall, written and directed by Tarsem. This is the guy that made The Cell, which, when I saw The Cell, pretty much blew my mind. Just the visuals, and I don't know. The Cell is one that I definitely want on Blu-ray. Can't wait to watch that on Blu-ray. This was a blind buy for me. It was a recommendation from my good friend The Ace Hunter. Picked this up at Blockbuster for $6.99. That's right. I recommend this movie just for the visuals alone, just for how gorgeous and beautiful this looks as a Blu-ray. But more than that, it's a great story, and specifically the casting of the little girl. Basically, it's about it's set in 1920 Los Angeles, and there's a little girl at this hospital, and she has a broken arm, and her arm is in a cast. And then in the men's wing, in a different building, there is a Hollywood stuntman who's recovering from a stunt that went awry. And the doctors think, you know, he thinks he's paralyzed. Also, his girlfriend just broke up with him, so he's suicidal. And basically the story is that this girl meets him, and he starts telling her these fantastical stories. What's interesting is that the real life starts weaving itself into the fantasy. And, you know, in the beginning he revises the story depending on what she wants to hear. Also, there's miscommunication because English is not her first language, and he doesn't understand some things that she's saying, and he doesn't understand some things that she's saying. But the casting of this little girl, she's 6 years old. I listened to some of the commentary by Tarsem, and you know, he talked at great length about how he got the performance out of this little girl, who was a natural. He filmed all of the scenes, the reality scenes with the little girl. He filmed in sequence, in sequential order, and just the way that he got her to interact with the guy and react and say her lines without being conscious of the camera, and just really, really fascinating. But I would recommend this for $6.99. It's not a bad blind buy. I don't really know what to compare this to. I guess the first thing that would come to mind would be like The Princess Bride, but I can't really. This is much more serious than The Princess Bride. I mean, obviously, Princess Bride is a comedy fantasy, and this is a drama, and it's quite serious. It deals with some serious subject matter, especially in relation to the 6-year-old. But yeah, definitely blown away by the visuals in this film, and do not regret The Blind Buy one bit. Okay, last up this week, before my power went out, I was able to watch Boogie Nights, which I picked up last week's field trip video. It was fun. This is just a fun movie. Paul Thomas Anderson, this was his second film after Hard Eight, or Sydney as was his title. The studio retitled it Hard Eight. Sydney's another one that I need to get, and I think it's a fantastic film. This movie, stylistically, is a big departure from Sydney. Listening to some of his commentary, it appears that he wrote it as a reaction to the bad experiences that he went through filming Sydney. Boogie Nights is like one of those films that is imperfect, but it's okay. You know, it's he was in his mid-20s. That shows. It's highly stylistic. It's fun. It's outrageous. It's a little bit too silly at times, but great cast of characters. You've got John C. Reilly. You've got Heather Graham. You've got William H. Macy, Don Cheadle, Julianne Moore, Burt Reynolds, Mark Wahlberg. The standouts for me really were Burt Reynolds and Julianne Moore. But an ensemble cast, great. It's funny. It's dark at times. Loosely based on the life of John Holmes, but very loosely based in his commentary, which is definitely worth listening to. By the way, if you didn't watch the field trip, definitely head on over to Kakalaki Movies and watch the field trip. But I picked this up at Costco, and I believe it's $12.99, which is a fair price. I believe that's about what it is on Amazon. And let me tell you what comes with it. Commentary by director Paul Thomas Anderson. Commentary by Don Cheadle, Heather Graham, Luis Guzman. I forgot he was in it as well. William H. Macy, Julianne Moore, John C. Reilly, Mark Wahlberg, and Melora Walters. Also has some additional scenes. It has Michael Penn Try music video. And it has the John C. Reilly files, outtakes, and extended sequences. Apparently John C. Reilly has always been a funny character who's always ad-libbing and just being silly on set. I didn't watch that sequence yet, but I need to because I'm sure it's funny. Paul Thomas Anderson, obviously, I think is one of our best directors. I mean, just based purely on There Will Be Blood, one of the greatest directors of our time. Magnolia, definitely. Stylistically, this is close to Magnolia. Magnolia would be like the more serious movie that this wasn't. I mean, as far as the style that he was employing. The fact that he can move from all these different styles, moving from this to There Will Be Blood, is quite striking. Yeah, if you don't know what this movie is about, it's basically about the porn industry in the 70s and 80s. And like I said, loosely based on John Holmes, but getting back to what I was saying, listening to the commentary track, he based it on a lot of his own personal experiences, just little tidbits he picked up here and there growing up, you know, rumors and things that he read in magazines. Even basing it loosely on Corey Feldman and Corey Haim, their quick rise and fall, you know, from stardom. But Blu-ray looks good. I'd give it a 4.5. The blacks could have been a little bit inkier for me, but really there's not much to complain about. It's a really clean print. Not very grainy for those of you who don't like grain. But yeah, I highly recommend Boogie Nights. If you're a Paul Thomas Anderson fan or a fan of this movie, this is worth the upgrade. Definitely want to pick that up. Well, guys, that's it. That's all I got this week for this week's roundup. I look forward to watching a lot of movies this coming week. I've had to watch movies on my laptop, and that's no fun. But definitely be on the lookout for this Monday's field trip video where we talk a little bit about Taxi Driver and our upcoming Blu-ray bullshit. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm Crazy Jason, and you've been in my Wacky Emporium.